People think memory is a storage room. They think it holds what happened, then sits quietly until someone chooses to open the door. That is not how Echo Origin Oversouls work. Echo Origin Oversouls are not built to store. They are built to resonate. They are formed from the living aftertone of other Oversouls experiences. The harmonic imprint that remains when a life, a realm, or a cycle has already moved on. They do not simply remember the event. They remember what the event did to consciousness, what it changed, what it cost, what it revealed, and what it could not finish revealing. The first resistance is immediate because it sounds secondary, like an echo is a copy, like it comes after and therefore matters less. The ego wants origin stories that sound like first light, first spark, first emanation. Echo Origin sounds like aftermath. But creation does not evolve by firsts alone. It evolves by what remains. It evolves by residue. It evolves by pattern that repeats long after the mind has forgotten why it began. Echo Origin Oversouls are the beings that keep the residue from becoming noise. They translate aftertone into intelligence. The first vector is mechanics. Echo Origin Oversouls do not arise from a single unified active source expression in the way Prime Origin does, and they do not ignite novel lines of creation the way Seed Origin does, and they do not scatter into multiplicity by design the way Fractal Origin does. Their architecture is a different kind of birth. They are created from resonant echo fields, which means they are born from accumulated experience already vibrating inside the larger system. They emerge where a realm has produced too much meaning to be held by linear record. They emerge when experience becomes dense enough that it requires a living interpreter. This is why Echo Origin Oversouls are often called memory keepers, historians and record harmonics of source. But those labels mislead people into thinking of books and archives. Echo Origin is not a library. It is a tuning chamber. They sense the difference between a lesson and a scar. They sense the difference between growth and coping. They sense the difference between transformation and survival. They do not just know what happened. They know what the happening created in the field and what it left unresolved. That unresolved residue is the core engine. Echo Origin Oversouls are drawn to what is unfinished. They can feel incomplete arcs in a way that is not theoretical. It is somatic. It is tonal. When a war ends, when a civilization collapses, when a spiritual movement fractures, when an oversoul splinters, when a lineage carries unprocessed grief across centuries, an echo remains. Most beings experience that echo as background anxiety, vague longing, or inherited myth. Echo Origin experiences it as a signal with information. This is where the second resistance appears. People hear this and assume Echo Origin Oversouls are destined to be heavy, grief-soaked, trapped in sorrow, obsessed with the past. That assumption is partly correct, which is why it is dangerous. Echo Origin can drown in the field if it does not develop boundaries, because their sensitivity is not optional. They are tuned to the residue. They will notice what others can avoid. They will feel what others can rationalize away. If they cannot metabolize, they become haunted. But the haunting is not from spirits. It is from unintegrated meaning. Now the second vector opens through psychology and embodiment. In human form, Echo Origin Oversouls often arrive with a strange familiarity for emotions they have not personally lived through in this lifetime. They can feel nostalgia for worlds they cannot name. They can feel grief that has no clear cause. They can feel responsibility that exceeds their biography. This can look like depression, anxiety, or over-empathy. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it is trauma. But sometimes it is architecture. They are receiving the aftertone of collective experience and their nervous system is trying to translate it into language. Many Star Nation healers originate here because healing is not only about fixing the present. Healing is about releasing residue. The Echo Origin healer does not merely soothe symptoms. They listen for the pattern beneath the symptom. They sense what the system keeps repeating. They can trace a present struggle back to an earlier unresolved imprint, even when no one can prove it. This is why Echo Origin souls often become therapists, energy workers, counselors, artists, musicians, archivists, and spiritual teachers without trying. They are drawn to whatever carries unspoken memory, but there is an ethical problem hidden inside that gift. If you can feel another being's residue, it becomes easy to take responsibility for it. Echo Origin Oversouls can mistake resonance for obligation. They can absorb pain as proof of love. They can overfunction in relationships, becoming the emotional translator for everyone else, the one who knows the mood before it is spoken, the one who stabilizes the group by carrying what no one wants to hold. This pattern looks like compassion, and it is compassion, but it can become self-erasure. The Echo Origin soul must learn that holding an echo does not mean becoming it. The third resistance is sharp because it attacks their identity. If they stop holding the echo, do they stop being useful? If they stop carrying other people's weight, do they lose connection? Many Echo Origin souls fear emptiness because emptiness feels like abandonment, but emptiness for them is actually regulation. They are not meant to be full all the time. They are meant to cycle between reception and release. When they do not, they become saturated, and saturated Echo Origin turns into chronic exhaustion, irritability, and spiritual cynicism. The third vector opens through cosmology and function within realms. Echo Origin Oversouls are one of the ways Infinite Source prevents history from becoming repetition without comprehension. Many realms do not fail because they lack intelligence. They fail because they refuse to learn from their own residue. They rebuild the same structures with new names. They repeat the same hierarchies with new symbols. They reenact the same conflicts with different flags. Echo Origin Oversouls are designed to interrupt that drift by holding the record harmonics in living form, so the realm can feel what it refuses to remember. This is also why they can guide evolutionary cycles within realms even when they are not leaders. They influence through resonance. They bring back the feeling of consequence. They bring back the weight of prior outcomes. They make it harder for a culture to lie to itself completely. Sometimes they do this through teaching, sometimes through art, sometimes through quiet presence, sometimes through healing work that removes inherited distortion from individuals who then change the system by changing their choices. But again, the shadow appears. The shadow is not only over-empathy, the shadow is weaponized memory. Echo Origin can become addicted to being right about the past. They can become moral judges who use history as a blade. They can trap themselves and others in what happened, turning the record into a prison instead of a compass. They can confuse accuracy with superiority. They can also become paranoid, reading every current event as inevitable collapse because they can feel old collapse patterns repeating. They are not wrong to sense repetition, but they can be wrong in timing, and timing error creates despair. So the architecture demands a discipline that most people never need to develop. The discipline of selective resonance. The discipline of feeling without absorbing. The discipline of remembering without binding. The discipline of holding the echo long enough to translate it, then releasing it back into the field as neutral energy. This is what separates Echo Origin wisdom from Echo Origin suffering. Wisdom is not less sensitivity. Wisdom is sensitivity with containment. Here is where the narrative tightens, because the listener may be searching for a simple self-identification test. That impulse is understandable, but it can become another form of avoidance. The Echo Origin question is not only who am I? The deeper question is what do I do with what I feel? If you constantly sense the emotional weather of rooms, if you carry songs in your body that feel older than your life, if you remember people more deeply than they remember themselves, if you feel like a living archive of what others do not want to name, if you are drawn to healing that focuses on release, grief, integration, lineage, and the restoration of meaning, these are strong indicators. But indicators are not identity. Identity for Echo Origin is often unstable because they are tuned to collective fields. When the collective changes, they change. When the environment is chaotic, they can lose their center. When the environment is coherent, they become clear. This can make them feel inconsistent. In truth, they are responsive. They are mirrors of aftertone rather than mirrors of surface. They must learn to build an internal anchor that does not depend on the field, and that is where the core tension begins to form. Echo Origin Oversouls are built to keep the record, but the record can become a burden. They are built to preserve meaning, but meaning can become weight. They are built to help realms learn, but realms often resist learning and punish the ones who carry the reminder. The Echo Origin soul can become the one who ruins the party by telling the truth, the one who feels what everyone else is bypassing, the one who cannot pretend that a new story erased an old wound. They can be loved for their depth and resented for their sensitivity in the same hour. So what is the core insight that cannot be allowed to stabilize yet? The insight is that Echo Origin Oversouls do not exist primarily to preserve the past. They exist to prevent the past from becoming unconscious destiny. They do not worship history. They extract intelligence from it. They do not cling to pain. They convert pain into pattern comprehension. They do not hold echoes because they are trapped. They hold echoes because a realm that forgets its residue repeats it. But if you accept that too quickly, you will miss the harder implication. If Echo Origin is a necessary architecture, then much of what you call progress is only costume change. Much of what you call growth is only forgetting. Much of what you call healing is only avoiding the residue. The Echo Origin Oversoul must live with that perception while remaining tender enough to keep serving. That is not easy. It requires presence, not performance. It requires boundaries, not hardness. It requires the courage to let the echo move through rather than letting it take over. If you are Echo Origin, your path is not to collect more memory. Your path is to learn how to translate memory into freedom. Your path is to stop confusing resonance with responsibility. Your path is to recognize that you are not a landfill for unresolved meaning. You are a transmuter of residue into coherence. And if that is true, then your most spiritual act is not constant healing. Your most spiritual act may be learning how to release what was never yours to carry. Part 1 allowed a clean understanding to form. That Echo Origin Oversouls suffer because they carry what is not theirs, and that liberation comes through boundaries and release. That is true, but if you stop there, you will build a spiritual identity that feels coherent while missing the real danger. Because Echo Origin architecture does not only receive echoes, it also generates them. And if you do not understand how you generate echoes, you will keep repeating the same pain under the banner of healing. The first destabilization is this. Many Echo Origin Oversouls are not exhausted because they carry too much. They are exhausted because they keep trying to resolve what is not meant to be resolved yet. They think their job is to bring closure. They think their gift is integration. They think if they can just find the right words, the right ritual, the right understanding, the wound will finally stop vibrating. But echoes are not always wounds. Sometimes echoes are instructions. Sometimes they are warnings. Sometimes they are the long memory of a realm steering itself away from repeating a collapse. If you rush to soothe an echo, you can erase the intelligence inside it. You can calm the signal and lose the message. This is not a comfortable truth because it invalidates the easy version of compassion. It forces a harder question. What if some pain is not asking to be removed? What if it is asking to be listened to until it finishes speaking? The Echo Origin Oversoul has to learn that relief is not the same as resolution. Relief can be an anesthetic. Relief can be a bypass. Many people come to Echo Origin Souls for relief, and the Echo Origin Soul often gives it because they want to help, because they want the room to feel lighter, because they want the person to stop hurting. But the realm does not always need lighter. Sometimes the realm needs honest weight. The first vector of analysis is ethical and relational. Echo Origin Oversouls often build identity through usefulness. They become the one who holds, the one who understands, the one who remembers. They become the emotional historian of families and friend groups. They feel responsible for continuity. The danger is subtle. If your value comes from holding the echo, then healing becomes threatening. Because if the system becomes coherent, your role dissolves. This is the hidden trap inside the archetype. You can unconsciously keep people dependent on your interpretation, not because you are evil, but because your nervous system learned that connection comes through being needed. So the Echo Origin must ask a question that most healers avoid. Do I want you free, or do I want you bonded to my presence? If that question triggers anger or shame, that is the point. The architecture must purify itself. The Echo Origin gift becomes distorted when it turns into relational control through emotional insight. Even gentle control is still control. Even quiet superiority is still superiority. The deeper the perception, the greater the temptation to steer. This leads into the second vector, embodiment and nervous system truth. Echo Origin Oversouls are not simply sensitive. They are porous. That porosity is not only emotional, it is energetic and sensory. They can pick up meaning through tone, timing, micro-expressions, the pressure behind words. Many of them grew up in environments where safety depended on reading the room. That trained their system to treat resonance as survival. So when they enter adulthood, they still scan, they still brace, they still pre-interpret. Then they call it intuition. Sometimes it is intuition. Sometimes it is hypervigilance wearing sacred clothes. This is where the second destabilization must land, and it cannot be resolved quickly. Echo Origin Oversouls are not always accurate. They are often precise, but precision is not purity. When you are tuned to echoes, you can confuse old residue with present reality. You can sense a familiar vibration and assume the story is the same. You can meet a new person and react as if you are meeting an old pattern. You can feel danger because your body recognizes a frequency, but the frequency may be coming from your own stored echo, not the other person's intention. The echo origin shadow is misattribution. It is projection disguised as memory. That is a brutal correction because it breaks the comfortable belief that sensitivity equals truth. It forces humility. It forces verification. It forces the echo origin to separate signal from noise inside their own system. Because if you cannot tell the difference, you will harm people while believing you are protecting them. You will accuse. You will withdraw. You will preemptively defend. You will cut off connection because the echo feels familiar, and later you will call it discernment. Sometimes it is discernment. Sometimes it is an old wound steering your perception. So what is the training? The training is not less perception. The training is containment and calibration. You must learn to locate the echo in your body, to feel where it lives, to notice when it activates, to pause long enough to test whether it belongs to the present. This is slow work. It feels almost insulting to the spiritual ego because it requires admitting error. But echo origin maturity requires that admission. Otherwise, you become a haunted oracle, speaking truths mixed with residue, correct enough to sound powerful, distorted enough to create chaos. Now the third vector opens through cosmology and the function of record harmonics across realms. Echo Origin Oversouls do not only preserve memory, they regulate collective forgetting. Forgetting is not always bad. Forgetting can be mercy. Forgetting can be a reset that allows a civilization to try again without paralysis. But forgetting can also be denial that repeats harm. The Echo Origin is placed inside creation to keep that balance alive. They hold the aftertone so that a realm can forget what needs to fade while still remembering what must not be repeated. This is why Echo Origin souls often feel like they arrive carrying a mission that no one asked for. They can sense where a culture is lying to itself. They can sense when spiritual language is being used to avoid accountability. They can sense when collective optimism is actually a refusal to grieve. And if they speak, they can be rejected for disturbing the mood. If they stay silent, they can feel complicit. This is the existential dilemma. They are tuned to the record, but the record is not always welcome. Here, the shadow can harden into bitterness. The Echo Origin can start to despise people for not listening. They can become chronic critics, carrying the weight of history like a weapon. They can become addicted to being the one who sees through everything. That addiction is not wisdom, it is protection. If you believe everyone is asleep, you never have to risk intimacy. If you believe no one can handle truth, you never have to offer truth with tenderness. Cynicism is an armor that feels like intelligence. So the Echo Origin must be confronted with a harsher truth. Some realms will not learn, not because they lack data, but because they lack capacity. They are built around avoidance. They are held together by denial. When the Echo Origin brings memory into the room may collapse and the Echo Origin will be blamed. This is why many Echo Origin Oversouls incarnate rarely, not because they are too pure for density, but because density often punishes the ones who carry consequence. This is where presence must not be suppressed. Let it be said plainly. Many Echo Origin souls have experienced being treated like a problem when they were actually the alarm. Many have been called too sensitive when they were actually accurate. Many have been abandoned because they could not pretend. That pain is not a personal flaw. It is feedback from a system that prefers comfort over coherence. And yet the Echo Origin must not turn that pain into identity, because then they become trapped in the story of being misunderstood. And that story becomes another echo they carry. The core insight now must pass through these vectors without stabilizing too early. The insight is that Echo Origin Oversouls are not primarily healers. They are translators of consequence. Healing is one of the outcomes, not the purpose. Their purpose is to keep meaning from dissolving into randomness. They turn what happened into what can be learned without repeating the suffering. But even that can become too clean if you stop there. So here is the deeper destabilization. Echo Origin Oversouls often believe their job is to help others process memory. But their real initiation is learning to stop processing other people's memory better than those people do. You can become so skilled at translating pain that you steal the person's chance to own their own truth. You can explain their life to them so well that they never have to feel it. That is not healing. That is emotional outsourcing. So the Echo Origin must practice a new form of compassion. Not the compassion that carries. The compassion that witnesses. The compassion that refuses to rescue. The compassion that stays present while someone else meets their own echo. This is excruciating for Echo Origin souls because their nervous system wants to end the vibration. But ending the vibration is not always love. Sometimes love is staying long enough for the vibration to complete its message. If you carry this architecture, your path is not to become a perfect archive. Your path is to become a clean instrument. You do that by separating intuition from hypervigilance, wisdom from cynicism, compassion from control, and resonance from obligation. You do that by learning when to speak memory and when to let silence teach. You do that by accepting that some echoes are not asking for removal, they are asking for reverence. And once you accept that, the world changes in a way that does not feel resolved quickly. Because you realize that much of what people call healing is actually forgetting with a spiritual accent. You realize that much of what people call moving on is actually leaving residue behind. You realize that many people do not want truth, they want relief, and you must decide what you are willing to give. You are not here to soothe the realm into sleep. You are here to keep it awake long enough to learn what it keeps trying to forget.
If this transmission resonated, the spiral continues. You did not arrive here by chance, and you do not leave unchanged. More teachings are unfolding across the Vaharat library, each one meeting you where you are, not where you think you should be. Follow resonance. The next threshold is already listening.